Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the Metal Voice. Exciting episode today with me today, Mr. Perry Wolfson in Montreal, in cold Montreal.
Cold, very cold Montreal this morning. This morning and tonight.
Yeah. Extremely cold. I mean, so cold, I don't even know what this is in Fahrenheit. This is like what, 12 Fahrenheit? Is that what it is?
It was minus 24, minus 20 this morning. Yeah, so we're probably up about 10 or 12 degrees.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. So for all you centigrade and imperial system people, is that what it is? Imperial system? I don't know what Fahrenheit is. You would Fahrenheit people? Well, it's about 12 degrees Fahrenheit here in Montreal. And that's why I got my sweater on, because I'm freezing my butt off. Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm wearing a sweater too. Look at that. Metal Voice
all sweatered
evening
up.
sweater top.
Yeah, all sweatered up. And you know what? I'll try to make sure I. Good evening, guys. Friggin' cold here too. And this is Milwaukee Tom. Milwaukee Tom is freezing his butt off in Milwaukee. Or
Tom gets us.
Tom gets
Tom
us.
gets us from a
That's
weather
right.
standpoint.
That's right. So here we go. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Ozzy Osbourne's new album, Ordinary Man. And just some background here. This is his 12th studio album. The album release date is February 21st. That's coming up this, I guess, in the next 6, 7 days.
Next week, yeah.
Next
Well,
week.
it's Valentine's Day, so a week from today.
A week from today. And this is a 10-year gap, probably the longest gap between albums or solo albums by Ozzy Osbourne. And his last album was Scream with, of course, Gus G. And Perrin, maybe you want to just give a lowdown of this new band that Ozzy has, and we'll get to the review.
Yeah, well, maybe the most interesting thing about the record is that his band, the rhythm section anyway, is Duff McKagan on bass, plays on most every track,
Yeah.
and Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers on drums plays on every track. So that's kind of the permanent band. And then there's a lot of guest guitar players, and maybe we'll get into some of the more well-known guests, as we talk about different tracks. But the
Mm-hmm.
main guitar player is actually the producer of the record, uh, Andrew Watt, I believe his name is. So
Andrew
he kind of
Watt.
does,
How old is he?
Andrew
He's a
Watt.
young dude. He's a young dude, isn't he? He's like 20 something, right?
Andrew Watt he's 29 years old.
He's
29 years old,
29 years old.
multi-instrumentalist, producer. And I think he works with a lot of non-metal kind of rap, and again, there's a lot of guests from different genres on this record. So
Yeah.
Andrew Watt is not a metal guy, although there is some decent guitar work on the record. But like I said, I think a lot of the special guests do some of the heavy lifting. But
All right.
yeah, so it's mostly Ozzy on vocals, Chad Smith on drums, Duff McKagan on bass,
Yep.
Andrew
Duff.
Watt on guitar with various special guests.
All right. So let's start off with expectations here. Okay. What do we expect with it for an Ozzy Osbourne album here? What we usually expect is something cutting edge, right? When you think of Diary of a Madman, you think of Blizzard of Oz, you think of Bark at the Moon, Ultimate Sin, or even after that, you think Ozzy Osbourne's got cutting edge. He's got a slick guitarist, a shredding guitarist, someone who's breaking the mold. We're thinking of really cool and interesting lyrics. Bob Daisley, who's been a huge contributor over the years with so many Ozzy Osbourne albums. We don't want to get into all that. What else do you look for in an Ozzy Osbourne album, Perrin? We won't talk about the album yet, but what do you look for? What do you expect from an Ozzy Osbourne album? Bats being bit off, a bit of scare, a
Yeah.
dark album. What do you expect?
Look, I'll be honest, Jimmy. I don't expect a lot anymore. I mean,
No. What do you
all
expect?
those
What do
things
you
you kind of
want?
just
What do
said.
you, what do you want from given his legacy? What do you want? What are you expecting? What's going to make you happy?
Oh, look, what's gonna make me happy is Ozzy singing in his real voice, not something that's overproduced. I expect great guitar work. I mean, if it's one thing that Ozzy's always had, he's always had a great guitar player. And if there's one place where he's remained cutting edge, he's always been able to find that hot up and coming guitar player, and not just Randy and Jake
That's a
and
good
Zach,
point. There
but
you go.
you know
He's always
Joe
been
Joe
able to
Holmes.
find. Yes.
Joe Holmes was a great guitar
Brad
player.
Gillis.
Gus G was a great guitar player. Yep. So I expect great guitar work, and I expect Ozzy and his team to go out there and find somebody hot and put a
Yeah.
hot guitar player on the record.
Yeah. Me too. I expect a shredding it. And I mean, it doesn't have to follow our rules, but this is what we expect from Ozzy Osbourne over the years, right? We expect some decent lyrics. Bob Daisley had probably the best lyrics on the first two, actually three albums, right? Actually, did he write on Ultimate Sin? I don't remember, but I remember the first three albums he did all the lyrics, and so on. Even after the fact, he did a lot of lyrics for a lot of albums. So we're expecting social political issues. We're expecting introverted lyrics, based on Ozzy's life, not written by Ozzy but by others. That's what we're expecting. We're expecting cutting edge metal, in a sense, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, look, Ozzy is one of the forefathers, and he always broke a lot of amazing ground, whether it was in Sabbath or his early work. And then even when, the hair metal thing came in, he kind of adapted to that pretty well. And then even when grunge metal came in, he kind of adopted a grungier sound. So, I mean, Ozzy's been able to adapt to the times pretty well. So maybe that's something I expect. And I think with this record, he's trying to adapt to the times. But, again, there's what I want from an Ozzy record. And then there's kind of what I expect.
I want to hear what you want. I want you to hear what you want from an Ozzy album. And it's the same thing that I want from an Ozzy album. I don't want vocal effects. I rather hear his voice raw than to hear it, sort of tuned properly. If you can't do it, then just don't do it. That's what I think. That's what I expect. I don't expect guests. Never in his... If you think of the greatest Ozzy albums, which is probably the first three, there are no guests. There's no Madonna guesting on Ozzy's album. There's no Cher guesting on Ozzy. There's no Vanilla Ice guesting. And those people were pretty hot in the 80s. He could have had them, but there was no guest because that's not what he did. And I'm not here to tell him what to do. I'm just telling him that's not what his strengths were. That's not why people, they were drawn to him, because he was unpredictable, because he had the best of the best. Ozzy has all the money in the world at his disposal. He has any musician he wants, and these are the people or the characters that he picked. Do you think this is a good lineup?
Well, look, it's very clear to me that this record was kind of concocted in a boardroom, if you know what I mean. And I could see a bunch of record company types and, his management and Sharon Osbourne sitting around saying, okay, how do we, keep Ozzy's older audience satisfied? Oh, let's get Slash. Then how do we get the 90s metal crowd involved in this? Oh, let's get Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. Oh, okay, what about mainstream people? Oh, well, I'm friends with Elton. Let's get Elton John on there. And then the $64 million question, how do we get a new audience? How do we get kids? How do we get teenagers to be interested in Ozzy, who's like 71 years old? Well, then you get Post Malone and you get Travis Scott, and that's what's going to get the 15-year-olds into it, right? And
so this is it.
I could just see them sitting around a boardroom.
Exactly, sitting around a boardroom. Who are we going to get there? How are we going to get this market? How are we going to get that market? Let me tell you something. I've spoken to Bob Daisley many, many times. I've spoken to Lee Kerslake many, many times. I've spoken to other people's in the Ozzy sort of world many times, and nobody. They were creating music because they love music and they wanted to create the best possible song. Bob Daisley wasn't sitting around and saying, you know what, we really got to get Vanilla Ice on the album, and this way, we could get, maybe if we get a guest appearance by somebody, we could make a better song or a better album. No, they weren't thinking. They were thinking about creating the best possible music. Randy Rhoads, Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake, and even Ozzy Osbourne, they kind of pushed him that way. Now what we're getting is exactly what you said, manufactured music. So this is manufactured Ozzy. Yeah, sure, a couple of songs sound pretty decent. The production is good. Talk about the production. Parent, talk about the production. I think that's the best part of the album, the production.
Yeah, and I offline, I said that to you. I think the best thing, I mean, look, I don't know who Andrew Watt is, and he's pretty young, but he did put together a very good sonically sounding album. So the album sounds good. What sounds the best is the rhythm section. Chad Smith and Duff McKagan sound really, really good. So very clear, some groove, good bottom end. The funny thing is, just back to your comparisons to the old days and now, yeah. I don't believe like anybody was together in the studio when this record was made. I think, Chad Smith probably recorded his tracks on his own. Duff McKagan probably recorded something in his home studio and emailed it over. Ozzy laid down his tracks. Post Malone, Travis Scott, or whoever were where they were. Elton John was over in England. So this again, it's product and it's manufactured, and then the producer had to put it all together. So he did a good job putting this all together. I mean, the songs are cohesive and the
Yeah.
production is good, and I think the rhythm section sounds great, and I think there are a few guitar solo spots on the record that sound really good
Yeah.
and clear. And then look, vocally, whether it be Ozzy or whether it even be Elton John, I mean, Ozzy is auto-tuned and compressed to hell. Post Malone and Travis Scott are rappers, so that's pretty much all auto-tune. And Elton, on the song that he does with Ozzy, I swear it sounds like an Elton John impersonator. It doesn't sound like Elton John. So
To me, it's an
I don't know.
embarrassing song, the Elton John song. Ozzy Osbourne with Elton John. You might as well just be singing with Cher at this point.
Yeah, but again,
And you know what? I'm not here to tell him what to do. I'm just here to say if it sucked or not. And to me, it sucked. And it's just an embarrassment. It's just an embarrassment to music. It's like Iron Maiden with like Madonna. It's stupid. It's just, it's just a complete embarrassment. You know what? And I don't know who's directing him. I do know who's directing him and who's telling him what the good idea is. He never needed to have guest stars on his album to sell his records. I guess he will sell this record because I will give a
Right.
10 out of 10 for the production. The production, like you said, is excellent. That's probably the only 10 out of 10 I'll give.
Yeah, but you said it, and again, we also talked about this online. I have zero doubt that this will be the best-selling album. Well, I mean, obviously
In the last-
sales are different these days,
yeah,
but this will be, everything being relative, this will be the most successful Ozzy album probably since No More Tears. Because of the guest stars, because of the, mass appeal or whatever it might be. Here's a really funny thing, Jimmy. I've seen Ozzy live at various points of his career. So I remember seeing Ozzy on the No Rest for the Wicked tour. And there were only about 7,000 people there for Ozzy, White Lion, and Vixen.
Yeah, yeah.
So even though, he was a little past his heyday, but, metal was still happening and there were some two hot opening acts at the time, he could only draw 7,000 people. Ozzy is playing Montreal, where we're based out of, this summer. The show is sold out. 15,000 seats sold out. So, and I don't believe that's just a bunch of old guys like you and me who are at the No Rest for the Wicked tour. I think, it's different people. I think it might be some young people who saw, Ozzy on the American Music Awards with Post Malone. And
No. I think the young generation, it's not the Post Malone that's attracting them to Ozzy. It's the early albums that they're downloading, that they're listening to. It's just another generation listening to Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Oz. Just look at the poll we did. We did a poll, and Blizzard and Diary are at the end. And there's a reason. It's not only us, our generation, it's all generations. Bottom line is they think that they're getting more people by putting Post Malone. They've already had those people. The Diary of a Madman and the Blizzard will be for generations to come. That's quality music. This Post Malone album, I didn't even know who Post Malone was, okay? And then I heard it and I wanted to like just I don't know, throw my chair or something.
My kids are a little younger than yours, so your kids might not be able to tell you who Post Malone is, but my kids are 15 and 13, and they could definitely
my kids
tell us about Post Malone.
My kids know all the rappers and stuff. Don't worry, they don't know that stuff. I'm just trying to say that they didn't need Post Malone to know who Ozzy is, because the real metalhead kids, the young generation I'm talking about, they know Ozzy from Blizzard and Diary and from Bark at the Moon. They couldn't care less about this garbage that he's putting out now.
Yeah, the metal kids. But I think again, I think he's sold 15 or 16,000 seats instead of 7,000. Okay, there's a lot of things. There's people like us might want to see Ozzy one last time before he, really retires or worse. But I do think there might be, a 15-year-old like my son who has never heard an Ozzy song, but he heard, Ozzy with Post Malone, and then he started, looking up Ozzy. He's like, oh yeah, I do know that Crazy Train song. and then he started listening to a few other things. So,
Well,
you
to
know,
my
maybe that's
point is,
that's
oh yeah, I do know that Crazy Train song, right? Yeah, you're right. It might be sort of a gateway, as we would call it, a gateway to his older music, right? To his
yes.
legacy. Yeah,
Post
I'll agree
Malone
with
is a
you there.
gateway drug. Yes.
I'll call it more of like, a downer drug. Well, you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if he's hip or not. I just judge music on quality. And to me, I guess it's if you like Post Malone, what am I going to say? If you like it, you like it. But for me, I can't even believe he's teaming up with these kind of people. It's
So
just,
Jimmy, let me ask you
yes,
this:
sir.
is this the worst Ozzy record? Like, I
I don't know.
mean,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
there's Scream and there's Black Rain and there's Down to
Okay,
Earth.
okay. Let's break it down here. All right. Right off the bat, Straight to Hell, first track. We all know it. Everybody out there knows it. And you know what? As we're doing this show, you guys, you just type me out of 10 what you thought of, if you've heard this album now, type me what you thought out of 10 or what you've or just give me a rating out of 10 of the songs that you've heard so far. Just tell me what you think right off the bat. Everything you've
Yeah,
heard
I mean,
so
Jimmy,
far,
let's
give me
remember
a 10.
Jimmy, you and I are lucky in quotation marks because we've heard the whole record. Other people might have only heard the singles.
All right, so if you know this, if you just heard the singles, then just give me a rating on those singles. So let's start it off. Everybody knows the first song, right? Straight to Hell. I really liked it. I thought it was a good track and a good return, and there's nothing wrong with it. And I know you liked it too. You thought it was okay.
I
All
mean,
right, now.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay, right? It's not like up there with Ozzy's classic album openers, but I
No,
mean,
it's
it's kind of stoner rock. I could hear a little bit of leftover stuff from the Sabbath 13 sessions. I don't know if you know the band Monster Magnet. They're a band that I like. There's a bit of a stoner kind of Monster Magnet vibe in it.
yeah. No,
But,
I don't know.
I mean, I'll make you scream. I'll make you defecate. That's what he's writing, if he's the one writing it. So it's okay. Again, it features Slash on guitar. So I think, again, there's the drawing card,
The
opening track on
guest.
the album with Slash on guitar. So,
Okay, all right. So we everybody knows Straight to Hell. All My Life is a track. Probably some people may have heard it. Some people may not have heard it. I like the second track. All My Life. I think it's a good, safe song. A nice little melody, a nice little solo. So yeah, it fits in nicely in the Scream sort of era of Ozzy. You could say, oh, that's probably a leftover from Scream. That fits in
I,
well with that album.
I don't like the second track on an album being a ballad. I think it's a little too early in the record for a ballad.
All My
But
Life, it wasn't really a ballad. It
yeah,
was,
I don't know. It's kind of balladish. Like, I mean, there's, Ozzy likes his, Road to Nowhere, Mama, I'm Coming Home kind of songs. And ever since that, there's been 2 or 3 of them on every record. So I kind of put that in that Road to Nowhere, Mama, I'm Coming Home kind of vibe.
but I
You
liked
know,
it. I liked it.
it,
Overall, I'd say, do I like the song? Yes, I liked it. So All My
yeah,
Life, I did like it. It's a safe song, but you know what? You're right. It fits into that vibe. It's got that same production as No
but
More Tears.
safe, paint by numbers. Again, the first 2 tracks, they don't offend me.
No,
But it's not classic, that's for sure. I mean,
no.
are
Well,
you
the
gonna
whole
remember
album is
it? Are
not
you gonna
classic.
remember All My Life in a year from now? Are you gonna have it in your top 30 Aussie tracks of all
I
time?
won't even remember this album in like 10 years from now.
Exactly.
All right, so Goodbye. That's the next song. A lot of whining vocals. You got, maybe a slide guitar, very mid-paced. And then it does what the Black Sabbath 13 did. It's sort of like it just starts going fast at the end. Like it's a mid-paced song, and then dan 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 dan.
Yeah.
It's just typical throwback Black Sabbath, especially if you know the song Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, how it goes fast at the end. Typical. It's like basically they're stealing ideas from himself and just
Yeah. Well, look,
recreating them.
it well, there was I wrote that there was an Iron Man kind of intro. A duh, duh, duh,
Yeah.
duh. So Goodbye had an Iron Man intro, and then it had this eerie Sabbathy feel, like you said. And then it started, this song was kind of all over the place. Then it kind of sounded like the down to earth Scream kind of era of Ozzy. And then, I actually liked the second half of the song because that's when it kind of picked up and got heavy, like you said, kind of the way the song Black Sabbath gets heavy at the end. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I give this song half marks because I kind of like the second half of the song. The only thing weird about it is like it's this soup of
Everything.
different Ozzy eras
And it's
and
not,
different Sabbath
you know
eras.
why I
Again,
like it? I like it because it's reminding me of the songs that I like from Black Sabbath and Ozzy. It's not really because the song is great, because it's just got so many throwbacks. It's
yeah.
think of a song you loved 20, 30 years ago, and then you hear something very similar to that song today. You go, I like that song. Hey, that reminds me of Led Zeppelin, right? I mean, that's why we like Greta Van Fleet, or we don't, because they sound like Led Zeppelin, right? So these are throwback songs with throwback ideas that just sort of like, they're spinning them up, right? They know they worked in the past, so they're doing them again. But I thought it was okay. So track 1, track 2, track 3, Straight to Hell, All My Life, Goodbye. I thought they were decent tracks. Then you get Ordinary Man with Elton John. What?
Well, it's
What?
Elton and Slash, so they brought out the big guns here, right? And then
I
it's
don't know about big guns.
the
I mean,
album is named
Goodbye
after
Yellow
it.
Brick Road and Ozzy Osbourne. It just doesn't, I don't know. He would have never, ever done this in the 80s. And this is when he was creating, not him, but his band was creating great music. They would never needed guests. You need guests when you're sort of grasping at straws, or you're trying to create some sort of marketing, trying to market a song. They never thought like that because they had no money. They were scrambling for money. They were creating real music. Now he's got all the money at his disposal. And what does he do? He gets Elton John. I don't
Yeah.
have
Well,
nothing against
you know what?
Elton
I
John.
swear
I got
that
nothing against Elton John. But Ozzy Osbourne and Elton John, it's a terrible, terrible song.
the piano sounds like Elton John, but the vocal part that Elton does sounds like somebody imitating Elton. I don't even know if it's really Elton. I don't know. I'd call it Elton John like. But again, these guys weren't in the studio together creating. They were just, hey, Elton, record these 2 lines and email it back to us. It's like it's that kind of thing. So it's what you'd expect. It's like Ordinary Man. It's the story of Ozzy's life, growing up hard times in Birmingham. And, I mean, you heard it all before. I took a note that part of the song sounded like the band Oasis, right? They wanted to sound like this forlorn champagne supernova Wonderwall kind of thing. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it
It's, it,
sucks. It,
it,
it
yeah, it
does. In my
doesn't work.
opinion, it sucks. He doesn't need that. He's better than that. And he's got any musician he wants in the world. And he picks Elton John. He picks
But,
Elton John.
but Jimmy, this isn't a record for us. This isn't a record for metal fans. This is a record for trying to appeal to the masses. This is, I don't even know if Ozzy and Sharon care about the old time fans. I just think they care of keeping Ozzy propped up on stage and relevant.
No, no.
It's
I
not.
think it's exactly what you said. They're in a boardroom. They go, okay, here's this group. How can we get that group? And how can we get this group? Okay, we'll get, the pop guy here. We'll get Post Malone there. And we'll just
Yeah.
grab as many people as we can. And we'll just throw a lot of money at these guests. We'll get them all on a record. And we'll create an Ozzy record. That's never how it was. I said this before. I've talked to Bob Daisley. They were writing songs with Randy Rhoads, creating ideas, neoclassical stuff, prog stuff. They were like, that was music. That was music back then. That was like 1979, 1980. And now he's coming up with, like, I don't know what the hell he's coming up with. He shouldn't have even come out with an album, if you ask me.
Well, he doesn't need to. I mean, that's the thing. If he's going to do a tour, a farewellish kind of tour, and it's for us old school fans, like, I don't want to hear any of these songs live. If I was going to his show this summer, I don't want to hear any of this.
What,
You know,
like,
I
do you
want
think
to
he
hear-
would have done a song with
I wanna hear
Bananarama?
Revelation
Hold on a
Mother
sec.
Earth,
Do you think he would have done a song back in the 80s with Bananarama? On Bark at the Moon. That's the equivalent. Him and Bananarama.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
and
just-
they were popular. Post Malone, who knows? I mean, it's the same thing. It's like sort of like that kind of crowd, that kind of music. And the people who like Bananarama were people in the clubs, people who like the pop hits, sold millions of copies back then. Him and Bananarama on Bark at the Moon. Guest appearance. And I like Bananarama, but I mean, not with Ozzy.
Look, this record is not for
It's a
Jimmy.
cruel
This
summer with
record is not
Ozzy.
for Perrin. This record is not for Milwaukee Tom. This record is for somebody else who are not hardcore Ozzy fans.
Yeah, yeah. And then they're going to realize that there actually isn't anybody else. Okay, so next song. All right, here we go. Under the Graveyard. We all know this song. They're trying to recreate Black Sabbath. Everybody's heard it, right? We've even commented about this, right?
Look, it's my second favorite song on the record, which isn't saying a ton. It's my second favorite song because it's kind of almost what I would expect. It's clearly a leftover from the Sabbath 13 sessions. It sounds like it could be
Yeah.
on the Sabbath 13 record. I hear a little osmosis in there too, which isn't a bad thing. But yeah, Under the Graveyard is my second favorite song, just because there's some semblance of just metal and Ozzy in there, right? It's like it's one of the few tracks that doesn't have a special guest.
Yeah,
So, you asked me kind of earlier what I expect from an Ozzy album, and maybe Under the Graveyard might be the track that's most what I would expect from
I
an
agree
Ozzy
with you.
album.
I agree with you. And I'm being fair here. And I do like Under the Graveyard. And I even said that when I first heard the song and we did a review on it. I'm not sure if I
Yep.
did it with you or somebody else, but we talked about it. And I agreed. I thought it was a good song and it's a good production. And it's a nice tune to listen to. And you go, hey, wow, it reminds me of Black Sabbath. It reminds me of Ozzy, blah, blah, blah. All right, next track. Here we go. This is the ones that people may have heard, may not have heard. It's called Eat Me.
Okay, can I have this one, Jimmy?
Yeah, you could have this one. Eat Me.
Jimmy. Okay,
Yes.
so I will say this. I will go on record. I think track number 6 on Ordinary Man, Eat Me, as you've said it.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is the worst Ozzy Osbourne song I have ever heard. It's just the worst. It's the most ridiculous. A harmonica intro, the bass kicks in. I'm on the menu. It doesn't come with dessert. My meat is tender. Like it's like the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Two words.
I mean,
two words. I'm just going to cut you off. Avril Lavigne.
Avril Lavigne is better than this. Avril Lavigne is more real than this. You know how people joke that
I'm a
bands
skater
like
boy.
Manowar and other bands kind of cliche. This
Yes.
is a cliche of an enigma of a I don't know what, but the track "Eat Me" might be the worst Ozzy track I've ever heard. I don't know why anybody counseling him would let him sing about his meat being tender and I'm on the menu and dessert and like it's just the most ridiculous thing.
Would Bob Daisley write these lyrics? Would Lemmy write? Well, actually, Lemmy would, in a way, would write those lyrics, right?
But Lemmy would deliver
But
it
he
in some
twists
kind of
it.
a
But
cool
he
way.
twists the
Like,
words around.
Lemmy would be tongue in cheek
Yes.
and Lemmy would be tongue in cheek. I actually listened to this and somebody thought it was a good idea.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah,
who-
Lemmy would twist it. Lemmy would twist the words around, tongue in cheek. But Ozzy's just saying, just eat me.
Yeah, I mean, so again, guys, when the record comes out, listen to it, tell me what you think. But I'm going on record. This is the worst Ozzy song I've ever heard.
No, I got a worse one coming up. But anyways, here we go. All right, anything else on that song? Eat me?
No, if I never hear it again, it'll be too soon. That's the only thing. That's all I can say.
Here we go. All right. So what's happening here is Straight Outta Hell, All My Life, Goodbye, Ordinary Man, Under the Graveyard. Those are 5 songs that I thought were decent. Not the best, but okay. Now Eat Me comes along and everything, the Titanic. It's just like the Titanic all over again.
Okay.
And now the next song is Today is the End.
Yep.
And that's the Avril Lavigne song. That's so we have 2 really bad songs, right? Eat Me and Today is the End, right?
I just wrote. I mean, I think Eat Me's a lot worse. Today is the end. It was just kind of. I wrote that it was just unremarkable and in a similar vibe like of latter day Ozzy. Just Today is the End didn't offend me as much as Eat Me or some of the other stuff, but it just kind of like vanilla ice cream. Just boring.
Yeah. I would still put it in the Avril Lavigne category. I could see her coming up with that song, playing it, covering it, or just writing it. So, I have no words. It's pretty boring. It's got a nice melodic hook, perhaps, but it's just boring. It's just not. It's manufactured. It's one word, manufactured.
I took notes on every song. And this is a song where I didn't have a lot of notes because there just wasn't really much to say about it. It was just there, it's just, it's taken up 3-4 minutes. The good news on this record is every song is like 3-4 minutes. So nothing will destroy your ears for like 9 minutes.
No, absolutely.
Everything, if you like it, it's over in 3 minutes. If you don't like it, it's over in 3 minutes.
I really like the album cover, by the way. I give 10 out of 10 on the production and 10 out of 10 on the album cover. I thought it's Ozzy, right? It's a cool album cover with the boiler hat. It's nice. It's creepy. It's Ozzy, and those are 2 10 out of 10s. But the songs we'll get to the rating after. All right. So the next song. Okay, here we go. Scary Little Green Men. So I guess this is about aliens. The lyrics. It's funny. It's corny, it's Pee Wee Herman corny in a way,
But
right?
this was my favorite song on the record. This is the only song on the record that I said, hey, first of all, vocally, he sounds like Ozzy. Like this, it just he actually sounds like himself, or like he used to sound.
Mm-hmm.
I felt there was a bit of a No More Tears vibe on this one, a little bit of piano. Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine guested on this one, although
Mm-hmm.
he's not playing that Rage style guitar, which is probably a good thing. But this is the one song on the album that I'm like, I might actually listen to this again down the road sometime. Like it was interesting. I was able to listen to it the whole time through, and it was able to keep my attention. Yeah, I just thought it was the most interesting song on the record. And is it classic Ozzy? No, but it was a decent song that could have fit in on records from different eras. So
That's why I started off with expectations on this whole little bit that we're doing today. What are your expectations of Ozzy, and what does he actually come up with? You
yeah,
see,
so this
if
might be the
Ozzy
song
Osbourne was a
closest to what I
clown,
expect.
listen, if Ozzy Osbourne always wrote songs like this, like alien, like corny alien songs, and I love UFOs, don't get me wrong, I love UFOs. And I don't mind fun songs. I love fun songs. Kiss is fun songs, Thor is fun songs. Those are fun songs. But Ozzy never was. He was more of a darker, creepier, sinister, that style of music, right? And it was always a little more proggy. It was always the best guitarists with the best musicians coming up with the best songs, and they were always cutting edge, and they would last for generations. And this is just a fun song. Actually, I like the song. It's a cute little song. But you might as well have Ozzy with the Muppets, right? Remember when Alice Cooper was with the
Yeah,
Muppets? You might as well
yeah,
just have Ozzy with the Muppets at this point.
yeah. But I guess the thing I liked the most about it, because it probably was the closest song to what I would expect, kind of like how you open the show.
Yeah.
And he sounds like himself. It's not auto-tuned and compressed to hell.
Sure, sure,
It
sure.
actually sounds like a rock song.
But let me
And
let
I
me.
didn't even listen to the lyrics because it was the only song that musically
Will
and
and there's like a
vocally.
line. Will the aliens eat us? It's like
Yeah,
it was so poorly written. Mind
yeah,
you, it's a cute little song, and I enjoy cute little songs. I'm a fun guy. Okay, don't get me wrong.
yeah.
But
Jimmy, I think after Eat Me, I just tuned out to lyrics on this album altogether. So
yeah, well, look at this. Here's a good point by Marty. He just wrote a text, and he goes, fairies wear boots." When you think about that, that's corny, right? Like fairies wear boots. But it's so, how can I say? Of course, it was written by Geezer Butler. And of course, there's probably some sort of, intoxication that was going
yeah,
on.
I mean, come on,
But
it's a
it's
song about tripping,
twisted.
right?
It's fairies wear boots. It's like these little fairies wearing boots, right? It's twisted. But Little Green Man, it's sort of like it's too straightforward. I don't know. There's
Look, I
something
don't like
twisted
the
about
song
that.
title, but I like the song.
No, yeah, it's okay. You're allowed to like the song. I like the song too, but to me, it's just not what I expected from
There's
Ozzy.
only two songs I like on the record, so this is one of them.
All right, so here we go. Now here's the worst song for me on the album. The next song. We had Tonight off at Diary of a Madman. We had Goodbye to Romance on the first album. We had On Bark at the Moon. What was it called? So Tired. And this is the ballad, the real ballad of the
Yeah,
song. Holy
this is.
for Tonight.
Know what I call this, Jimmy? This is the insert ballad here ballad. So
This is like,
like
yeah.
you're plotting out the record, and you're like, heavy opener, mid tempo, insert ballad here, heavy song, mid tempo, insert ballad here.
Yes,
So this
exactly.
is an insert ballad here ballad. It's a
This is the cabaret. This is like I'm at the cabaret and there comes a slow song and people are just kicking and this is the cabaret and Ozzy's coming out and he's singing, cabaret style or whatever that is, some sort of Broadway tune. Embarrassing. That this song is just out and out embarrassing and this is, on some sort of chalkboard and they're saying, "Where can we get, a radio hit on the
yeah.
92 FM radio easy listening station? Where can we get that big hit? Where that's the 90, the easy listening station. How are we gonna get a hit so all the grocery stores can play this song?" That's
Yeah.
what it is.
There
It's a
was a
grocery store
decent
song.
guitar, there was a decent guitar solo in it, but other than that, I just wrote, it's a generic ballad. It's just totally generic.
All right, now I'm getting questions about the book about Merciful Fate is official. It's officially written by Martin Popoff, who's spoken to the guys in Merciful Fate. Is it signed off by the band? Probably not. And just to answer your question about Merciful Fate. So Martin Popoff is my good friend, and he wrote a great book by Merciful Fate. And we're going to actually do a show about that next week. So tune in for that.
He wrote a lot of good books. Gotta love Marty, man.
Yeah.
Marty's the king of bathroom reads.
But are they all official? I got to tell everybody. They're not really official. However, he interviews the band, so they're kind of a little official because the band is agreeing to have interviews.
And he knows his shit. Martin
he
knows
his
shit.
shit. He knows his shit. Definitely. I haven't read it all yet, but from what I've read, it's amazing. And go pick it up. And just to change topics.
We only got 2 Ozzy records. Only 2 songs left to go.
All right, so here we go. All right, here we go. All right. Tell Martin I sent you. The Metal Voice says, I sent you for the Merciful Fate book. And we're doing a show
the Metal
about...
Voice endorses Martin.
We're doing a show about Merciful Fate, by the way. That's going to be next week or the week after. So we're going to talk about his new book. So stay tuned for that. All right, where are we now? I'm losing my voice.
It's
I'm so
a Raid, track number 10.
Holy for Tonight, garbage. It's a Raid, garbage. Take What You Want, garbage. Next. What do you say?
Well, that's it. So just really quickly. So It's a Raid is another song with Post Malone, and it has this punkish, this nouveau punk kind of vibe. But I mean, vocally, this is the most compressed, auto-tuned, horrific thing on the record. Like, it's just totally manufactured and compressed to hell. Unnecessary tempo change, but it is different than anything else on the record. It's kind of a fast, punky song, but yeah, just Post Malone and then you mentioned Take What You Want is Post Malone and Travis. With the last song Take What You Want, it wasn't enough that we had one rapper; we had to put 2 rappers on it. So Take What You Want has Post Malone and Travis Scott.
But I want to go back to It's a Raid. So for everybody who has not heard the song. It's an industrial punk rock song a la Green Day. All right? It's post-punk. It's not punk. It's post-Malone, post-punk, poppy industrial pop rock. A lot of P's there, huh?
Yeah.
Garbage.
And frankly, dominated by Post Malone. It's almost like,
yes.
Hey, Duff and Chad, you do something. Ozzy will sing 1 or 2 lines. And then Post Malone, you take over. I don't know.
Garbage. So that was probably the worst song. Actually, Holy for Tonight is horrendous. It's a Raid is horrendous. And Take What You Want is horrendous. Look, I'm just giving feedback. He could do whatever he wants. I'm just saying they suck. So if he wants to keep cranking out albums that sound like this, I'll keep saying they suck. People will buy it anyways. I mean, but I'm allowed to have my opinion, and so are you allowed to have your opinion too.
Yeah. But you know what's kind of sad, Jimmy? Well, let's face it. This is probably Ozzy's last studio record.
Yeah.
I think he's 71.
Yeah.
It was 10 years between studio records. So, you'll get compilations, you'll get live albums that were recorded years ago. But I think this is Ozzy's last studio record. So, for the great Ozzy Osbourne, one of the forefathers of heavy metal, to go out with a rap, punk, Elton John guest star laden album, it's pretty sad. It really is.
Yeah. And they'll probably have to reissue the first 3 albums just to sort of make up for these albums. And that's what they usually do. What really bothers me is, I'll tell you what really bothers me. Gus G was never given the opportunity to make music with Ozzy. They just kind of like wrote him off. They took him, they used him, and they threw him out. They should have kept him. They should have rolled with him. Talented guitarist, talented songwriter, but they never made use of him. And that's just one example of so many great musicians.
But Jimmy, they didn't want to make a heavy metal record. They wanted to make a corporate, safe, a crossover appeal record.
Yeah.
If they wanted to make a heavy metal record, then they might have either used his touring band, Zach Blasco and Tommy Kluftos, or they might have brought back Gus G. But, they didn't want to make a heavy metal record. No. They wanted to make a mass appeal.
You're right.
Heavy-ish record.
You're right.
That's why. That was the intent was never to make a record that Gus G would ever think about playing on. I mean, look, Zach has been touring and back with Ozzy for a long time. And there's a reason Zach's not on this record because it's just not the type of thing that he does.
Yeah. You know what's sad? It's like everybody, when I talked to Brad Gillis, I asked him the question, would you ever do an Ozzy album? He goes, if he invited me back, 100%. Gus G, I go, would you ever do another Ozzy album? If he called me up, I do it 100%. Everybody's dying to play with this guy. Everybody. And there's so much talent. I would love to have a Brad Gillis Ozzy Osbourne album. This guy kicks friggin' ass.
Yeah.
Yet he'll never have it. He'll never have it.
But if you advertise, Ozzy Osbourne, Angry Little Green Men featuring Brad Gillis on guitar, other than you, I, and other people watching this show, nobody cares. And then if you put, Ozzy featuring Post Malone, more people care. So again, it's just the sign of the times. It is what it is. It's again if I was gonna describe this album in one word, it's product. It's not music.
No, you got it. You nailed it. You nailed it. It's just product, and that's all it is. And you nailed it right there. That's the best way to summarize this album. Mine would be garbage, but yours would be product.
Yep.
You think Randy Rhoads would stand for an album like this? I don't think so. You think Lee Kerslake, when in his heyday, would stand for an album like this? I don't think so.
Well, but same thing. Would
Lee?
Matt
I don't
Norman
think so.
produce it? Would Ron Nevison produce it? Would any of the great producers Ozzy worked with produce it? No. The only people who would produce it is 29-year-old Andrew Watt, who's kind of part of that Post Malone posse.
Yeah. It's sad. Anyways,
but it's
everybody.
Sell. Look, Ozzy was already on the American Music Awards. He's getting more notoriety than he's received in a long time. He's getting more airplay than he's received in a long time. This will be his most well-received album probably since No More Tears, but from not from you and I, from other people.
Like, let me just think about this. I want everybody to think about this as we almost conclude here. Diary of a Madman, Blizzard of Oz, Bark at the Moon, Ultimate Sin, No Rest for the Wicked, No More Tears, Osmosis. Where does this album lie? Is it as good? If the bar was set, this album is nowhere near the bar. That's it.
No, I mean, look, for me, I lump it in with Black Rain and Scream and Down to Earth. But frankly, I think those have more redeeming moments than this.
I agree.
Does.
This is probably his worst album. And because he's going to outsiders, let's say big name stars, to try to sell it. And this is the most product album. I don't know if that's the right terminology, but this is the most product album that he's ever made. And it's just, I don't know, in my words, as a metalhead, part of the metalhead community, I think it's kind of embarrassing. He should go out with the best Ozzy album, and he can do it, and he has all the money at his disposal. Maybe because he has all the money, and maybe because he has everybody at his disposal, that's why he doesn't have the hunger to create something like that. Because when you're starving and you're an alcoholic and you're just trying to show Black Sabbath that you're better than them, well, then you come out with the best music. But when the world is at your fingertips and you have everything you ever wanted and people are just pushing you around and telling you what to do, well, then you come up with crap. And that's what it is. Crap. What would you rate this out of 10?
Boy, I'd have to give it a 2 or 3 out of 10. Like I said, there's only 2 songs I like. And when I even say like, I can tolerate. I'll probably never listen to any of this again. So I couldn't give it more than a 3 on 10.
Jeez, 3 out of 10. I'd probably be between a 5 and a 6 out of 10 because I'm an easy rater, right? Because I do think the production was great. I do think the cover was great. And I do think that 5 songs were good. Scream quality good. So, I would say half, and then the other half is like complete garbage and just the ratings just like drop on that.
See, I would call those Black Rain, Down to Earth, Scream albums like 5 or 6s.
Yeah.
And then you get kind of more interesting after that, but yeah, I mean, look, if Jimmy, if Scream is the bar for you, man, that's a pretty low bar.
Yeah. 5, let's say about 5 out of 10, 5.5 out of 10, somewhere around there. That's what I would give this album. And it's sad because I love Ozzy. I love his voice. We all love Ozzy. We all want him to do well, right? Who doesn't like Ozzy Osbourne? Every metalhead loves Ozzy, and we don't want another Bark at the Moon, but we want another passion, another album made as passionately as Bark at the Moon. How's that? Or Blizzard of Oz or
You
Diary of a
know,
Madman.
I don't think he can. I don't think he could produce another Bark at the Moon at this point. But you know what? I could live with another No More Tears or another Osmosis. I could live with those.
Yeah. And here's a question from Grady. He's saying, what do you think about Chad Smith and Duff McKagan playing on this album? Chad Smith's a great drummer. You know, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you could play with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, there's some great drumming there. Maybe they're not my favorite band, but he's a great drummer, no question.
Yeah, I mean, Chad Smith actually, beyond being in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, does a lot of studio session work. He plays with the Dixie Chicks. Now he played with Ozzy. He's obviously in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He's a very diverse drummer. I mean, look, I think off the top, Grady, one of the things that I said is Duff McKagan and Chad Smith, they sound really good. Like, I doubt they were in the same room together recording anything, but, you know, they're pros. I mean, Chad Smith can play anything, and Duff McKagan, I think, is a good rock bassist. He's not like a, you know, Chris Squire, Steve Harris, Billy Sheehan
agreed.
virtuoso, but he can, you know, he can find a groove and kind of really make a song work. I think, again, the production and the rhythm section is the best thing about the record for me.
Yeah, well, here's so I'm good friends with Lee Kerslake too, by the way. We talk on the phone a lot. He gives me a lot of insider stuff. When they were creating those first two albums, he would work with Ozzy on the vocal arrangements, you know, giving him the melodies and working with him. He would and this was one of the texts that someone wrote. Did Chad Smith have an impact? In other words, was he just playing what they told him to play, or was he giving his heart and soul into the songs and creating the songs and songwriting the song, creating the songs? You see, where Lee Kerslake, he gave everything, all his experience in Uriah Heep and all the other bands that he played in. He brought in a vocal dimension. He brought in a drumming dimension. He brought in an impact. That's what he brought, and that's why those first two albums are an impact, because you had three
Jimmy,
brilliant musicians creating great songs.
But Jimmy, no doubt, Lee Kerslake, Bob Daisley, Randy Rhoads created. Chad Smith and Duff McKagan executed. So
exactly. There you go.
If I'm saying this record is product, this is product that was executed. So they came in and they were told, you know, execute this, play something like this. This is the song. You know, maybe they were given a little bit of creative input, but I don't think they created anything. I just think they executed something.
And you know what? Very, very well said. They're basically told what to do, whereas that's why the first band, like Ozzy Osbourne, was not a solo artist. It was a band. It was a band. It was four guys creating two albums. That's why they've tested. You know, the time, they will be there for generations. These first, actually, I would put the first three albums, even when Jake Lee was in the band. That was a great album too. So there you have it, everybody. Ozzy Osbourne, Ordinary Man review. That's my take on it. That's Perrin's take on it. And, you know, when you listen to it, come back here, leave a comment. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're right. Tell us what you think. Rate the album out of 10. Perrin gives it a good old-fashioned 2-3 out of 10. I give it a nice 5.5 out of 10. Is that right?
That's correct. I'm a tougher grader than you.
All right. Everybody, enjoy the cold, and the people who live in the sun will enjoy the sun.
All right. Back to the Megadeth poll. Our next show, we'll kind of have to summarize the Megadeth poll. Some fun stuff happening there.
Yes. We'll talk more about Megadeth, and they'll be on tour, so it's great timing, right?
Super. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a nice night. Bye.
Have a good night. Bye, everybody.